Welcome back to another episode of Earth Your While. This is the podcast where we talk about all things sustainable business. I'm here again with Ellie.
Hi.
Ellie from Reuseabox. Me, and we're here with Joss at Ecovibe.
Hello, pleased to meet you, everyone.
Tell us about what Ecovibe do.
Ecovibe is a business that creates products mainly around being plastic free and trying to stop single-use plastic. Started about 4 years ago, and we've continued to grow and grow. Started more around consumers, but now sell to a lot of businesses and shops.
Nice. And what's the story like? Where did it come from? What's the background?
So we've always been involved in consumer propositions at scale, and we were looking at trying to find some around that were impactful. We'd done quite a lot of boring things, and then about 4.5 years ago, we seen the rise of plastic-free products and things like that. So we decided to kind of create a marketplace where it was first a marketplace with lots of other people's products who were quite early into this market, because it was quite a virgin stage then. And then we started finding products ourselves, working with manufacturers ourselves, and then it kind of moved more into that.
Nice.
So what kind of products do you provide? Is it more like homeware or?
So we like to pride ourselves on everyday essentials.
Yeah.
So we spend lots of time in supermarkets with our customers, doing market research, looking into what actually people use every day, because we feel like that's the biggest way you can create an impact.
Yeah.
If you just replace a toy or something you might wear once, that's not having an impact. So what we're looking at is
lifestyle products.
Yeah, anything across lifestyle. So I need that today. Go to Ecovibe.
Yeah.
Ecovibe should have a product. But so we sell personal care, cleaning, household things, travel, pet. So we've looked across what everyone buys, but that's usually from myself or people in the office looking at what do I buy a lot of? Is there can we create, or is there a more eco alternative that could be there?
Yeah. And are they all quite ethical brands, like, I don't know, vegan or?
Yeah, so it's we try to keep it as ethical as possible. We're just going through the B Corp process, so that's brought out some challenges from our supply chain.
Yeah.
But we try to bring in as much as possible, but retaining that the product needs to be good.
Yeah.
The consumer needs to like it. The branding needs to be right.
Yeah.
The price point needs to be right. Some things that we've tried to sell, consumers just are not prepared to pay the prices that we would have to sell a product for, or they're not prepared to change for something sustainable. So we sold to over 150,000 people now. So we kind of know.
So it works.
What are the sweet spots which consumers are prepared to change?
Yeah. How do you deal with managing people's expectations? Because I think that's something that we were talking about it earlier with better quality stuff, obviously being more sustainable because it lasts longer. But obviously with what we do with reuse and getting people to reuse products, we find that everyone loves the concept, but sometimes people have unrealistic expectations about the quality, or about it should be exactly as I want it. How do you get around that, or do you not?
Well, in terms of, because we want to be involved in everyday essentials, we're competing against the toxins that people put in their products. Plastic was invented for a reason. So we're competing against procedures and chemicals and materials that have been made that people think either to make the product better or to make it cheaper so more consumers can buy it. So it is quite hard. So but we're in a really early stage in this market. So I think that every consumer who we find is like an eco tester of products. Yeah. There's some brands that we in this industry might think are really big, but in the big world, they're actually not selling a lot of products.
Yeah. So
we kind of trying to find products where people don't look at it to compare, is a bleach going to be as strong if it's not got chemicals in? Probably not.
Yeah.
This is a problem we literally have at the moment. Is we would like to use we don't want to be putting horrible chemicals in our toilets and down the drain, but at the same time we've noticed that the nasty bleaching chemicals are actually better at cleaning. So I don't know what advice have you got on that? How can we actually?
Well, I think we try and adopt a policy nearly the same price, nearly as good. And if you can beat that, then you're winning. But the world is against it. The amount of people, the economies of scale on the materials needed to build these products are against being eco. So there's lots of things that factor against it. It's usually around sweet spots where the product price isn't that much, or people are prepared. Like our average order is around £30, and we think that that's probably where people are prepared to spend a bit, but not. It's like a charitable donation. They're doing their bit by shopping eco, but it's just £30. Like we've spent 4 years trying to up the average order, and it's quite hard because people don't know. We don't sell any brands that consumers really know. Good. So they're kind of I buy a goodie bag of eco stuff and I test a few things, and if I like them, I'll come back. But we have our 2 best-selling products. Our UK-made sponge, which we sold 500,000.
Wow!
Literally will last forever. So I've got.
So you can't get much retention on that pre-orders,
and you could cut them in half. So when we went to a manufacturer, which is based down in the south, I went to a meeting. I took the sponge home. I've still got it in my house now.
Wow.
And it still looks exactly the same.
I guess that's a secret, because everybody thinks, when you buy eco-friendly, you've got to pay more. Or I can't afford to do that, cost of living crisis. But I guess if it's going to last, that's the kind of, that's the amazing thing about a lot of these products. If they last so much longer or forever, as you say with the sponge, then, that's amazing in itself, isn't it? That's going to actually save you money.
Well, it's a
and
pure sustainable business, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, like, if you did it from a business school, you're probably not the best business model. You're selling something that never runs out. But from a sustainable perspective, we sell a sponge and you might never have to come back for it again.
That's the thing with this kind of throwaway culture, isn't it?
Everybody a sponge, and in the country, then you'll be okay.
50 million sponges. Yeah.
We're trying.
But that's the thing with this like throwaway culture, isn't it? So it's almost like a lot of these big, like the cleaning products that you're competing against. These are some of the biggest corporations, and I guess they're making the products to be disposable in some ways because they sell more products. Yeah. And people just see it's cheap, so they just buy it. But obviously they're buying it like every week.
Well, like Apple, one of the biggest business in the world.
Yeah.
Your iPhone suddenly stops working probably about the time your contract ends.
The thing I have with Apple is they always make them so slippery, these iPhones.
Yeah.
I'm always dropping mine and breaking it.
And just they kind of seem like it's built around the shelf life.
Yeah.
Whereas we're trying to find products that, a mix of products where some will last forever, but like you say, some aren't going, but some replicate what you're doing with your everyday life.
And I suppose things like food or drink, obviously that's always, people are always going to need that, aren't they? That's a refillable things.
Yeah.
So I think, do you donate to the Rainforest Trust as well?
Yeah, so we've worked with the Rainforest Trust for about 3 or 4 years.
That's cool. So why did you decide to do that as a business?
So we chose the Rainforest Trust because I'm involved in a few charities, and I always say that people like something local, something with animals, something that can create a big impact like worldwide, so your money goes a long way. And when Rainforest Trust came to us, there's lots of cute animals that people save, so people have got an emotional connection to that. And also for £1 you can save a hectare of forest, which is quite a lot of saving for your buck type of thing. So in terms of the impact that not a lot of money can have, it was one where we thought it fitted our own personal, within the office, our own personal kind of charitable needs, but we also thought it was a good way to align with the consumer.
Yeah. I suppose that fits in with, I think you mentioned earlier that you've submitted your B Corp application. So do you want to tell us a bit more about B Corp? It's actually something that we're in the process of as well, so that's cool. But do you want to explain a bit more about that and why you decided?
I came across B Corp we set the business up 4.5 years ago. I came across B Corp about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And every year it's been like, yeah, let's do B Corp, let's do B Corp.
Yeah.
And then someone came to us and like, right, you're gonna have to find me all of this information about everything. And it always seemed to get pushed to the bottom of the agenda.
Yeah.
And that's not because we didn't really like it, didn't really stand for it. But at the beginning of this year, I was like, right, I'm just going to do it. So we found an external person who helped us along the process.
Yeah.
And they kept on emailing at strange hours saying, can you get me this? Can you get me this? Can you get me that?
Yeah.
And we took a business decision to do it. One of the main reasons for doing it, all my life, so I've had my own businesses since I've been the last 20 years, everyone has always said good people don't win. And it annoys me because if you went to like an A level or I did business at university, if you've got to be tough in business, you've got to the people who don't treat people the best. There's a big kind of idea around it, and like in recent years there's been businesses that have turned that, but when things get hard, people say, "Oh, you're not tough enough. You're not. You trust people too much and all of that." And the B Corp sound was not just about sustainability; it was around the whole of doing
set of
good.
principles.
Yeah, and it kind of thought if there was a community of people doing that, and within that community, other like-minded people can help other like-minded people, it's probably worth the 7,000 emails that I had to send.
I think we're like sick of all the auditing as well, especially Eleanor. But in some ways, I think actually that's really good because at least like they really dig in and they really make sure that people really practice what they preach if they're going to be part of it. But it's interesting you said that because we obviously like since we've gone on that journey as well, we've been speaking to more businesses that are also doing that. And it's exactly what you said. It's like whenever we speak to them, it's like, how can we work together? How can we collaborate? How can we help each other? It's like a completely different attitude, a different experience.
And I think like businesses are changing. I know, I don't know. I guess we haven't been in, or I've not been in this game for that long, but the businesses that we talk to now, it's all about, what can we do for people and planet? And there's so much more of a community around it. And I guess it goes back to those kind of philanthropic motives of the past. But and I think it's, you look at like Patagonia, what they've just done. They've just given their business to charity, which is incredible. Yeah. So I think it's really encouraging, isn't it?
I read I am reading the Patagonia guy's book. I don't really know how you say his name. Yvonne something. But he was saying that if you want to change society, people always think you have to change governments. But then he was saying governments are actually controlled by corporations. But then he was saying corporations are actually controlled by consumers. So it's more about like consumer activism and community. That's the way to change things. And they're actually doing something with Walmart. And they did some testing, and they found that given the choice, most consumers would actually choose to go for the more ethical, the more sustainable option, even if it's more expensive. So they're actually developing something where all their products you'll be able to see with transparency the impact and compare the impact. And I think if Walmart are willing to put that kind of investment in it, it shows that the times really are changing. I think
when we recently rebranded at the beginning of the year, we did some consumer insight which showed us that 90% of UK homeowners recycle, but only 10% shop eco. So we were like, but that shows to us as a business that if you get whatever you're doing right, 90% of people want to do something. That people are putting things in a different coloured bin because they actually want to do something for the planet. They don't get paid to do that. They don't earn any extra money to do that. They actually, there's probably a kind of an element of people showing off now about what they're doing, they're recycling. You see it on the bins, and
has become competitive.
I put it in my bin, which I think that's got to be taken out and drawn upon by other things. You're already doing something, just do a little bit more. And that's kind of where we think we sit in terms of we don't want people to do. We know we would like people to do everything, but we know that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is try and find how we can up that 10% by the simplest ways possible.
Yeah.
And that's really our challenge, really.
I think my kind of theory is just like the guy at Patagonia. I think it's like transparency. I think if you make it completely transparent and you put it in the hands of the consumer, I think they'll choose to do the right thing the majority of the time.
Yeah.
I think that's the
ease comes into it, though. I think.
Well, that's the reason in your industry it's like everyday goods, and obviously you've got the big supermarkets, the big corporate brands. I think they've nailed convenience, and because they're on every shop corner and people are in their stores everywhere. It's like Amazon; they're so successful because they are the most convenient place to buy most of your goods from.
It's like it's not really a brand. It's just like a uber slick logistics business
exactly.
In that you can get whatever you want.
I think it's incredible what they've done at Amazon. I know that they obviously aren't the most ethical or sustainable of companies, but it's incredible what they've done. I think the principles apply for everyone. We just need someone like Ecovibe to use the same principles.
Yeah. Well, it's the challenge around that is how much is the kind of principle of greed and fast commerce in people's heads.
Yeah.
So could Ecovibe ever promise you that you could get me something there in 3 hours? Probably not. If we can, it'll be amazing. The world will have changed, but have consumerism created a need stroke greed, which is so great that we probably have them like, I need a drink now, I'm going to pull over and get a drink now. It's not, I'm going to consider. It's
become almost like an addiction, like a deep psychological addictive type thing, isn't it? With
I guess most of the time that's not going to help from an environmental perspective. That's not the best way to do things, just to get things there the quickest, is it?
Well, I think also with Amazon, it's also like they've been the biggest stock range, the cheapest. And obviously that's sort of, that cost is driven down by unethical practices often, a lot of the time, sort of cheap, sketchy manufacturing.
Things like that. We some of the products we sell, we are starting to sell on Amazon, and you look at the labelling and somewhere else and it's just factually incorrect.
Yeah.
As a consumer, you go on and it's like, oh hi, I bought this biodegradable compostable thing, which actually isn't what you say.
Yeah.
And there's lots of
greenwash.
Yeah, there's lots of brands which are looking a bit greener on certain ranges and maybe putting an E in front of it, and therefore the consumer is kind of looks at that, oh, I'm doing my bit. Yeah. Which for me is actually, like, some of my staff go mad because they're like, oh, these people are greenwashing. But I actually think that if people are trying to do something, how bad is it? Do you know, like, are we going to, like, there is I don't like the greenwashing, I don't like the lying, but the fact they're trying to do something, is it better that they're at least trying rather than saying two fingers up to the world? And I don't care. The way that they're doing it, like an example like Boohoo, what they did with Kourtney Kardashian was taken really badly, but someone, I was with an influencing agent yesterday, and they said, "Who would you like to do it?" And I said, "Kourtney Kardashian." And they started laughing, and they said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, I want more people to buy more green things. Yeah. She's one of the most famous influencers ever. I'm a green business, so if she aligned with me, more people will buy more green things." The thing that's gone with Boohoo is they've probably thought the same, but they're not coming from the same base as I am and you
they
are.
Want to get customers,
so they're kind of coming for it. Oh, we're just trying to make it look good, and they've got miles more money than an eco business would have, so they can afford to pay something like that. So it's actually probably backfired, but from a marketing perspective, their intention was probably good, but I
don't know. To be fair, I think they're a fast fashion brand. I think it was a marketing ploy. To be honest, I think this pretty. When you think of how those products are made, to me, that is pretty huge greenwashing.
Probably unethical.
I don't think
what are they doing with this
Kardashian
woman? What are they actually doing? Because I heard about it, but
So she's an
I didn't bother
ambassador.
reading about it.
I think she's. All I've seen is Boohoo.
She's just
Kourtney
influencing.
Kardashian, so I don't actually know what she's
I
doing.
think she's some kind of sustainability ambassador. So she's just promoting Boohoo by saying we're trying to be more sustainable. I don't know the details exactly, but when it's a fast fashion brand and and these are clearly made abroad unethically, I think they're on very shaky ground.
Yeah, that they need to fundamentally do more than get Kourtney Kardashian to be there.
I think they're doing it because people are understanding that consumers are demanding more from the brands that they buy from.
Yeah, but they are just lying, though, aren't they? They're just saying this is. Don't worry, everyone. We're doing this as well, and you have to back that up with real action, like you would do at Ecovibe. You are actually selling great products that are good for the environment. That's not what they're doing. You buy their stuff. It comes in a plastic bag. I've seen the plastic bags actually say you can recycle this bag, but you can't put it out. You can't put flexible plastic out with your curbside recycling. So you have to take that somewhere to like a large supermarket, and then there's no guarantee that it does get recycled.
Yeah.
So I think they're misleading customers.
I did actually speak to Boohoo once about setting up a reuse model for their packaging, and they weren't interested because they said we've upped the percentage of recycled content in our bags. They were saying they were putting out like 23 million bags a week or something.
Let's
so.
give them a medal.
But I don't know. It's not about bashing other companies because there was something you had on your LinkedIn. It was something, I don't know if you changed it. It said something like part problem, part solution.
Yeah.
And I think that's like an interesting thing because we are actually all part of the problem. Like just being alive has a negative impact.
Definitely.
It's really gone the wrong way in society, and I don't think any of us need to pretend like oh shit doesn't stink. It's like it's just saying if we can be part of the solution, let's do something. And it is kind of, it's almost like it's just part of doing business in the modern world. I think I think it's like you said earlier, it's like a tax that you just pay.
I guess. Well, that's what Patagonia say, don't they? They do the 1% for the planet. I think they founded that, didn't they? And I guess so you obviously give to the Rainforest Trust, and they say it's almost like a tax to the planet. They're giving back to the planet for the resources that they use, and it's just a right of doing business is to try and do that. I think it's a nice idea.
I think it's interesting what you were saying because we were talking about ecology the other day, and I think they've got a really interesting model because their core demographic, I believe, is sort of like early 20s to 30-year-old people, probably slightly more affluent, middle class, upper middle class, and I think they planted like 48 million trees so far.
So basically, you can offset your carbon footprint with them.
Yeah,
and they do that through renewable energy projects and other things, and you can also plant
tree planting, reforestation. But the thing is, obviously, the way it works is they call it like a Netflix subscription for the planet. So you sign up to a subscription, and every week, a few pounds goes out, and that supports this. And they've obviously scaled massively in over the last 2 years. But the people that sign up for these subscriptions, they don't get anything out of it. They get nothing. There's no return. They don't get any products. They've got businesses that have signed up. We had Marcus on. He's got that they've planted 8 million trees, I think, so far, and that's businesses that are donating £180,000 at a time to plant 1 million trees. They don't get any return for it, and I think that just shows that things really are changing.
Yeah, you can kind of see a consumer swell. We sometime on our checkout we do a thing called an eco act of kindness.
Oh, nice.
So what we do is we say to people, put $1.99 or $2.99 into your basket, and we'll do an eco act of kindness.
Nice.
So last month we aligned with a local charity and we gave kind of eco kits to homeless people. Next month, I think so. What we do is we go to our customers and say, "Have you got any things that you'd like us to do?" But not just planting things in communities, things that get people think. But when we put that on our site, that's usually in the top 3 bestsellers.
Really?
Because consumers are kind of happy to do it. We got the idea because I don't know whether if you've been into restaurants after lockdown, lots of them do free invisible gravy, $1.99, and that goes to help people who came out of work. And that's where the idea came. So I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a new way of doing it. So we kind of toyed with the idea. Should we give an extra percentage? But I think that if a consumer is happy to pay themselves, then actually they get more buying themselves by doing it. They're kind of, oh, I've done that, rather than I shopped at a business that did it. You kind of a step away from actually that action. But the fact that you've given $2.99 and then you can see on socials and imagery how that's helped someone, or how that's helped them be more eco, or things like that, we think that will have a bigger impact.
It's a really unique kind of feeling you get as well when you do something like that.
And also, I think I noticed as well that the majority of people that subscribe to Ecology are actually individuals or families. I think I think that's correct. Anyway, I think it's a smaller percentage of businesses, which I think is interesting. So I think that shows that individuals are wanting to take some action.
I can't do the maths, but basically they planted like 48 million trees. It costs 180 grand, I think, to plant 1 million trees roughly. So that's a lot of money that people are just basically they're just giving them. And to me, it just, things are changing. Things have changed, and these people are going to get older and become a bigger part of society, because this is the 20 to 30 year olds.
The Gen Zs or whatever that age.
Gen whatever.
Gen a long time since I've been here. They are so conscious about buying, about what they're buying, and kind of the values of the business and the ethics of the business mean so much to them. So there is a new wave of people who are coming into society who is part of everything they do.
I think it's good as... Sorry. After you.
No, I was going to ask, do you find your customers are mainly a younger demographic, or do you get...
I would guess that they were like young...
You might not monitor that information.
Yeah, no. So we do a lot of work on that. Our customers are probably... Our average age is probably about 29. Okay. So it's a bit older than you thought.
Is it more female than male?
Unfortunately, it is. I
imagine your demographic's like 28 to 29 females.
Yeah,
middle class.
We've got some sways to kind of early parenting and that kind of thing. So that's where our sweet spot is. It is a bit more expensive to shop eco.
Yeah.
So we do find that, and it's kind of getting the messaging right across those different. One era's very TikTok, the other era's probably now solely Facebook and don't understand what TikTok is. You've kind of got this. You're having to do different messaging to different sectors of society. Yeah. But unfortunately, it's more of a, and we're trying our best to kind of find innovative ways to do it. But it is more if you can afford it, which is something that is quite hard to kind of, if you want to go mainstream, you've got to find a product that loads of people like, and it's nearly the same as what they can buy. And especially given the recent economic climate, people do look at the bills now and are looking to see, where can I make savings? I'm just hoping that the planet is not one of the savings that gets knocked on the head.
Yeah.
I don't think it will be for generation whatever you call them, because I think they're very good at just sort of living beyond their means. I think they'll just spend their money anyway and work out how to get there. I think it's more the older people that are going to be thinking that. Yeah,
but they've got all the money.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's quite hard to. We've looked at some campaigns where the only people who can persuade grandparents are grandchildren now.
Yeah.
So like my parents are both 70. I can't tell them anything. They won't listen to me. But my kids, if I wanted something to get through them, I'd use my kids as the route in. So I think there's different subliminal marketing messages,
manipulative.
To be able to help, because the brands that they're buying, they've bought for 30 years, 40 years. So it's just a total part of lifestyle. Whereas brands that we're trying to induce, including our own or anyone else, are so new.
I think that's a different thing, though. I think most people, when they get older, like 60s, 70s, 80s, I think unfortunately most people become more kind of narrow-minded, I would say, and less open-minded. And then every now and then you come across one old person that's completely open-minded, and you're like, wow.
So it's one of when you're saying earlier, how did I get into this? My mum has always recycled.
Okay.
And always as a family, we bought when anti-apartheid, so you won't even remember what that is, but when anti-apartheid was around, we didn't buy products that were made in South Africa.
Yeah.
I can remember going round the Co-op and saying we're not going to buy them, mum telling us why.
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, the first time I ever made any money was there was a can recycling plant 10 minutes walk from us where my mum used to go and drop the cans, and outside someone must have just dropped. It felt like a million cans. I was 7, and my mum was like, "This is how you can earn some money. Stand there and crush all them cans, and I'll come back for you in 3 hours." And I crushed cans. Some kind gentleman gave me £1, and £1 was a lot of money then. Yeah. And I crushed them. My mum drove it down in the back of our car, and I got £3.17.
Nice.
Cans, and the whole of the site was cleared, but all these cans. But that was probably done as much from an entrepreneurial perspective, and like we're trying to work with, because loads of our products that we sell are mainly around reducing plastic, single-use plastic, and if there was a model where the plastic bottles that people were dropping had more worth than the kind of like the street economy type thing. If you went to the Far Eastern countries where our plastic bottles are all getting dropped, unfortunately. If that had a worth, those kids who have no way of making money would just go around collect all the bottles.
Yeah, and it loops back to the quality thing, doesn't it? Because it's like, they're making disposable, low quality products. It's become the norm, but if they were better quality, I mean, the government could get involved and they could say to people, it's got to be like Alice worked on a project in, I want to say Bournemouth or something. Yeah, Bournemouth, where it was like
that's Alice who's producing our podcast
behind the camera. Was it something like in the town council were like, we're going to ban single-use takeaway containers? Is that it? Apparently, and you had to design like a reusable container, and you give it back, you pay a deposit, and then you give it back to the shop and they wash it. And I think it's just that kind of thing on a bigger scale. I think governments need to try and incentivize. They need to make it possible. They need to make it beneficial for businesses, because the eco businesses like Ecovibe, they just can't catch up with these huge corporations.
We've had a plastic packaging tax, haven't we?
Yeah.
Is that correct? So
has that helped?
Is that going to increase the cost of new virgin plastics in the hope that
should do? But what we found is some of the materials we use, because it's hardly ever used, they're caught up in that.
Yeah.
So some of our bin bags and poo bags, we know from our manufacturer that they're actually caught up in it, even though our product is not plastic.
Yeah.
So there's probably, because these industries are so forming and so new, it's probably going to help once it all comes out in the wash.
Yeah.
But it's not, one of the things that you're saying, I took my kids to a cricket match, and I've been going to cricket for 40 years, and in the last couple of years, they've started doing that with the reused pint glass.
Yeah.
So I can remember if you watch cricket, the snakes, which have been as big as this field. Now the snakes, everyone has to pay £1 extra, and then you don't get back. So people are not just buying loads of pints and just throwing them everywhere. They're actually a reused thing. So it's and it's, you have to buy it. You can't ask for a thing. So it becomes a bit of a tax to be more reusable or recyclable.
Also, I imagine most of the people, they actually like or prefer that. They certainly don't prefer the older disposable ones. I think.
Perhaps. I don't know. I think in a lot of circumstances like that, you kind of have to force it, unfortunately, do like a bit of a deposit return that gives someone an incentive to be able to do it.
We were in Croatia 2 years ago, and the biggest queue in the supermarket was for a plastic deposit return system. Nice. Me and the kids loved it, just putting it in. we were staying on a campsite, we collected loads, took it in, and the kids were like, "Oh, this is it, I'm going to be able to buy a car," and they might have got €4.20. So there's a kind of an initial inertia which can help.
I think
kids.
as well, it's really important, because I think when you talk about the story when you were a child and your mum was telling you that, I think the story behind it is somehow more mesmerizing as well. It's more attractive, and it's like it's educating people just subliminally, a tiny bit on a regular basis, the importance of it, the bigger picture.
Especially on plastic, one of the issues, especially with recycling, is we send our recycling all over the world and dump it on countries that will for the cheapest price take it. What that then does is it means as a parent of a child here, you don't see that rubbish.
Yeah.
So imagine if that rubbish never left the UK.
Yeah.
This beautiful view that I could see there would probably have plastic in it somewhere.
Exactly.
And I would look at it and think, I need to do something about that.
My
and
goal.
that's and it's kind of send it off somewhere else so no one can see.
It's
It's like when
outside,
you're a student and you tidy up your bedroom and you put everything under your bed because you want to it's like it feels like that, but that the issue is the mess. How can we? The government will not let us see the mess.
Yeah,
because they've sent it so far away in a country that don't have TV cameras.
Exactly.
If that mess was on Brighton Beach when everyone's trying to sunbathe when it was 40 degrees, the world would be like, I'm going to have to do something about that. So there is
there'd be an outcry in society.
Fear and being scared is a really powerful marketing message, and some of the things that could be used. That's been taken away, which is good in one way because the country, but it's probably bad in so many other ways because we're not actually dealing with the problem that we have.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? Someone gave me a stat: 7% of the plastic is recycled. We've done some work with.
That's insane.
It's called a big plastic count. Have you come across Dan?
Yeah.
Yes. I think we did it.
That,
It's who organised it? I forgot.
It's
Dan Webb.
Surfers Against Sewage.
No, it's called Dan Webb. So he did it with Greenpeace. So he managed to get 200,000 people to do a plastic survey, and we've been speaking to him for a long time. And what comes out with actually what goes into your recycling bin that gets recycled actually is quite scary.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of wish cycling going on. Like so many people, and I really looked into it, and I was like, oh. I'm recycling completely wrong. I didn't realise.
Quite depressed. Yeah, I remember.
I didn't realise that we couldn't recycle. So many people just throw everything in there, think, oh, that will get recycled, and so much of it is just contaminating it, or people don't wash it properly, and.
But there is there's no consistency around. They're all different local authorities with different rules with different.
Yeah, I noticed that moving to a different area, and it's like, oh wait, you can't recycle this here.
Yeah,
what are you supposed to do with it then?
Yeah, and like. So every week we go and take our flexible plastic to the supermarket and we go in there and we put it in the thing. And then I think I read an article a few months back and it was saying that they put a tracker in a couple of bags. I can't remember who did it now.
Sneaky.
And one ended up in the Thames, I think. And then they tracked them across Europe and I think they went all over Europe and I can't remember what happened to it now, but I think a lot of it doesn't get recycled or some of it gets incinerated, and it's really quite depressing when you think about it.
I think the government just need to pull their finger out really and do more. Obviously, maybe they're controlled by bigger businesses, but it's like the plastic, the carrier bags in the supermarkets. I mean, now that they changed the law and you have to pay for them, like so many people just bring their own carrier bags in and reuse them. I would probably say when I go to supermarket, it feels like more people are reusing their carrier bags than buying new ones.
Yeah.
But there's so much
people
plastic,
don't mind.
isn't there, that we just need to try and turn the tap off it because we just can't process it. I suppose we just don't have the infrastructure to be able to process it at the moment. So.
My girlfriend had a friend over from Indonesia, and I was like, we were talking to him. We were like, oh, should we go visit you? What's it like there? And I was saying, no, I'd like to see the rural areas. And he was like, oh, it's really bad. He said it's just rubbish dumps, plastic. You see like Sainsbury's plastic bags and all that kind of shit. And then he said they've got the forest, but it's all palm oil, and it's all you go there and your eyes are watering from all the smoke, and it's disgusting. Yeah. And obviously we're here in England, sort of thinking everything's all pretty because
that's all we get.
Washing out our Dolmio jars.
Yeah. It's businesses like yours are kind of intercepting bits where it works. It works commercially for all parties, but it also works for finding other parts in supply chain or other products that can do that is a good thing. We, in the 4 years we've been trading, we're sustainable, but we're green, we're Ecovibe, you're weird, what are you doing? Then it moved into, there's some shops setting up doing the same thing as zero waste shops and things like that. So they started buying it. And in the last year, 18 months, more businesses have started coming to us, which I think are now from top down or consumer up, or there's in their agenda is I need to be more eco.
Yeah.
So they're reaching out to us as a brand which is in that sphere, saying, "Can you help me?"
Yeah.
So there is a more it's not just a ESG is a word and we'll have thousands of meetings about it.
Mm-hmm.
There is actually businesses looking to do something.
Yeah.
Whether they're going to do it right, whether they're doing it to greenwash, but the bigger businesses are reaching out now.
It's interesting because I think a lot of these, if you've got like 10,000 staff or something and you're trying to reduce your impact as a company, it would make sense if you can get your 10,000 staff to work together. Like if in their everyday life they used the reusable sponge or something, you know, that would really magnify, and that group of people are going to be more sustainable.
I think we've really noticed a shift in the last 1 to 2 years, haven't we? And like, in a similar way to what you just mentioned about businesses really going, you know what, I want to send my boxes to reuse because it's better for the planet. It's the right thing to do. I'm not so bothered about, you know, what's going to make me the most money. I actually want to do this for the planet now, and I think that's a really amazing shift that's happened. And I guess that has come from, you know, the fact that we're supposed to get to net zero by 2050.
Well, I also think lockdown had a massive impact on that.
Yeah.
I think that I've got a really close friend who lives in a place called Pontefract where all they do is drink and watch football. I remember speaking to him in lockdown and he said to me, "Hey, cock, have you seen the sky? It's so clean." And I was like, I thought I'd rang the wrong number. And for someone who has never probably thought about environmental impact, people were sitting there wasn't any planes, there was no cars, you could probably smell things that you didn't have before, and a lot of people became conscious about the planet, but also a lot of people became really conscious about the community. So it was a community thing. It was are you all right, or is that old lady who lives over there all right, has she got some food? So it did unearth a kind of a community spirit which probably hasn't happened for a long time, which probably has positively impact businesses like ours, because those people who now feel a community want to align to brands that make you feel like you're part of a community, not someone who's transactional and saying buy this from me and you get this, and it's kind of tit for tat. There's definitely more of a community feel.
I completely agree, and I think it's that community action as well. That's where the power lies.
So I guess one of the things we like to ask people is, this podcast is all about how to make your business more sustainable. So if you had one piece of advice for another business on how to make their business more sustainable, what would it be?
So I would say to
buy from Ecovibe.
Not that much.
Well, that's a given anyway.
I would say that you start something small rather than planning something big. A bit like what I was saying earlier on with the B Corp. To get the little steps to get it going is the hard bit. Once the momentum's there, you are. So it's so easy to have lots of strategy meetings about how green you're going to be and take off this for net zero. You might not make that happen. So like I don't know whether you've read Dave Brailsford and what he did with the cycling team, Team Sky. Sorry. No. So what he did is he looked at the difference between a drug-taking cyclist and a normal cyclist, and there was about 10 to 11%. So he said that you cannot change anything in a human performance that increases something by 11%. So he broke it down into 20 things. So 20 things change 0.5%. So what he and his team do is look at everything that impacts the cyclist's life. What cushions they have. Do they go to a cinema on a night? What do they drink? What do they put on their legs after the And he looked at all of them and he said, right, we've got all of these, let's try and improve 0.5%. And then with that incremental, you get there. I think that if that was adopted with businesses, what little bits can you do, 0.5 or 1%, and do something, think about all of them across a business rather than a nice presentation from someone who tells you that how you be, because what will happen with that is you're just not going to do it. I
think that's like what people like Amazon have done as well. You know, it's like you don't actually have to be a lot better than the competition. You just have to be a tiny bit better, and if you can do that consistently across multiple areas, you know, customer service, website, product, pricing, all of a sudden it transforms your market share because people go with the best option, the most convenient option.
That's the only place you can start.
Yeah. Cool. I have a question. Where do you see the world in 10 years' time?
Oh,
or maybe what do you hope it will be like?
Well, there's two different things going on, isn't there?
I feel like
so, well, like we were referring to earlier, there is an uprising of people who really give shit about the planet.
Yeah.
Which is really helpful. So they will move from being students and in areas where they probably can't create as much an impact to then having jobs in big places, voices in parliament, voicing things. So that will happen, which will be good for the planet.
Yeah.
How that's where I hope it would be. So the new generation with lots of fresh ideas, with more impactful guts and values in their own self, should make it easier. What the challenge against that is, people now are older. Mm-hmm. People are living older. So will the younger age be allowed enough power, because the older age just keep on getting older and they might be more backward. So it's kind of having businesses, governments, councils, NGOs, big things that make a difference. How easy are they going to allow new young people to have a voice in old 75-year, 100-year-old businesses where, unfortunately, white men generally run them and their ideas are right? So it's kind of, if that can be a thing, and some of the emerging businesses where younger people might run them and more forward-thinking business, if they become more of a thing quickly, then I think it could change quicker. But the challenge is trying to ensure that the older people allow the younger person's views to be embraced, because that's how it will improve more.
Interesting. It's interesting what you said, because I think that if you look at like businesses, most businesses, they don't last a very long time. It's a short-term thing. There's very few businesses that are more than 50 years old or even 25 years old, and a lot of the old system, if you want to think about it like that, you know, people like, I don't know, Coca-Cola and these big damaging brands, they're old companies. So I do wonder how, you know, are they going to be around in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years?
They're also quite powerful companies.
yeah. Obviously Coca-Cola probably will be, but you know, it's interesting.
Yeah. Do you feel quite optimistic about the future? Yeah,
in terms of, there is a lot of uprising, to use the word again, from society to make things better across everything. So you can kind of feel that, which should help.
I think as well, I think these days, and I think this has just become more and more true, it's so much harder to have any secrets. Everything's so transparent. And I think that trend's going to get clearer and clearer. And I think that's why the younger generations are demanding more from the brands that they buy from and that they advocate for. And I think it will be a positive thing overall.
Probably my era, my parents' era, have caused the problem, and it's for people who are more aligned to realigning the problem to solve it, really, unfortunately. And that's probably what's going to happen. If you've got the right mindset, I'm a through and through entrepreneur. I like to pride myself that I don't have problems. I see that as and what is the solution around this? And more young people now are thinking, what is the solution and how can I have an impact? So it actually, if a 20-year-old entrepreneur is thinking like that, and it's more as a left-leaning businessman, I've always, like I said, it's always been, you need to be nasty, you need to just make money at all costs, you need to do this. And I probably struggled a bit because people have always told me that all the way through my life. Whereas now, all of their peers and everyone are like, it's really good, this person's done this, we heard about Patagonia, this person's done this, they've done my scheme, and everyone was rich and everyone made from it. And so it's now becoming much more of a thing. It's cooler to be a nice business person. You were a socialist lefty weirdo when I was growing up. What are you doing? What are you doing? You need, oh, you should have long hair. Why have you bought some new clothes? You should be wearing whatever. But now,
how dare you drive a car?
yeah. It's now you need to hitch. It's actually becoming more trendy to be good. Like a thing like a B Corp. If a B Corp becomes I don't know. I talk about having a green unicorn and what's a green unicorn and things like that. If a B Corp was part of a badge of honour, that business owners wanted to do it, that just uplifts everything. Do you know? Like it uplifts. You're telling your staff why you've got it. You're telling your consumers why you've got it. It means something. So whatever that may be, I do think it should be better.
I think as well. I think there's something in like basic human psychology that we want to belong to something. We want to be part of something. You know, it's like being part of a tribe.
Yeah.
And I think these big corporations, they've just gone further away from that. Yeah. You know, and traditional businesses have gone further away from that. And I think things like B Corp, it's good because it is a community, it is a tribe, it's something you can belong to, and it is something that shows that you have common values.
Yeah.
And it's great because it's people and planet. It's not just You know,
it's like bringing a bit of subculture back into society. I think over the last few years, probably that's been eroded a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's because everyone's more digital and more insular, and they don't mix so much, and they don't go out places so much.
Yeah. If everyone felt more sustainably, both our businesses would be really big.
Yeah.
Like if that 10% was 50%.
Mm-hmm.
We would be as famous as Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
For us. So it's kind of, is there a collective educational piece? Because people say, an eco marketplace, you're competing against Amazon, one of the biggest, how are you ever going to do it? And then actually, probably not, because if David Attenborough can't persuade everyone to go eco by making such amazing documentaries and getting you upset when an animal's going to be extinct, and that doesn't change people, it's going to be hard from a little entrepreneur from Leeds to try and change that. But if collectively there was a pool where we said, right, we're all in there, let's all throw knowledge, a bit of money, whatever, and you upped people to kind of say, right, everyone now is going to be more, then the right businesses would rise to the top.
Yeah.
Don't steal that idea. And I don't know whether that's a B Corp thing or like you were saying earlier, I don't know whether it's a government thing, but I think that's why I do think some people who probably are our competition, I try and reach out to them all and say, you're starting, I've started and I've made loads of mistakes. Can I tell you what I've made mistakes? You do. So I'm really open to try and the more businesses that get into this space, the more it convinces more people to do a little bit more.
Exactly.
The more impactful business should have. So anyone in around this space, I think we should all be working together, saying how can we all help each other quicker, because it has a kind of a circular impact. Everyone should go up.
Completely agree.
Businesses will profit from the work that we've done now because the market will be there. It's our job to kind of stay alive and keep that going, because once people really buy into it, there'll be who's doing it, and that's where it will come. So we're kind of part of the ecolution, for want of a better word. But we and that's what we're trying to. So we're on this. We're pushing the wave. Like I sometimes think about it. Unfortunately, Ecovibe's never made a profit. But when I'm like reflecting, like, come on, what's good? We've sold 1 million replacement single-use plastic products, over 1 million to people all over the world.
Wow,
which is good. Do you know that? And then what has that made them feel? They might not like the product, but they've felt good, and they might then have started recycling. They might have then talked to the boss who bought a reused box from you. So there is a bigger, wider impact that businesses like ours that you can't tangibly see, but must be doing something. Like, people will feel, if the marketing message was just buy us, we're cheap, you won't get that. But your marketing message, buy us, we're helping the planet. Our marketing message is
building momentum, isn't it?
It's helping that sway.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Well, thanks for coming today, Joss. It's Been a really interesting chat, actually.
No problem.
It's been good. Thanks for listening to Earth Your While, the podcast that uncovers the truth about how to make your business better for the planet. We hope today's been Earth Your While.
Earlier this year, we joined a group of inspirational business leaders who pledged to plant 1 million trees over the next 10 years. If you'd like to help us reach our goal, or you'd like to find out some more information, head over to reuseabox.co.uk/earthyourwhile.